So the Charismatic Tradition, it's sometimes called the Spirit-Empowered Life. It's a tradition that emphasizes the work of the Holy Spirit in the world, in our communities of faith, and in our personal lives. Jesus modeled it by living in the Spirit, ministering in the Spirit, and pointing to the Spirit's involvement. So we turn our attention to the Charismatic Tradition. It focuses on the power of God's Spirit moving in and through us. And just as a car requires fuel to run, our bodies require food for survival, so our souls rely upon the Spirit of God for spiritual sustenance. Through the Spirit, we're able to do more than we could on our own steam. And these abilities not only remind us of God's presence, but they equip us up to build our communities in love. Lots could be said here. It's incredibly difficult to focus the work of the Holy Spirit into a short video. So there's really four main areas that the Spirit-empowered life focuses on. The first is the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of truth. This means the Spirit is actively involved in bringing truth to the surface, convicting individuals and communities where truth is concealed or where sin is hidden. The Spirit affirms what is good and pure and true and holy and stands as a corrective to the ways our systems and structures become malformed. The second is the Holy Spirit teaches and instructs us, whether it is through still small whispers or gentle nudges or more definitive prompts. The Spirit comes alongside us to lead us, to show us truth, and to illuminate our lives. The third is the Holy Spirit points us to and testifies about Jesus. The work of the Spirit will always align with the person, character, and story of Jesus. When we hear the gospel, the good news that Jesus was born and he lived and he died and he rose from the dead, the Holy Spirit witnesses to our spirit that the good news is true and prompts us to accept it and resonate with us. The fourth is the Holy Spirit equips us for the work of ministry. We learn to pray with the help of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit helps us discern our spiritual gifts and then guides us in their proper use. And so we read love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and more come into our lives through the Holy Spirit's teaching. We actually find the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5. And first I'll read it from the Message. It goes like this. But what happens when we live God's way? He brings gifts into our lives, much the same way that fruit appears on an orchard. Things like affection for others, exuberance about life, serenity. We develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in the heart, and a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, not needing to force our way in life, able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. Said differently and perhaps more familiar to us, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So the work of the Holy Spirit is this slow and steady and personal transformation that moves us as individuals and as communities to look more and more like Jesus. And the truth about this slow and steady transformation is that it is a kind of wild transformation at times, often breaking out of many of the boxes we create to hem God into. Richard Foster says this, the charismatic tradition offers an ongoing correction to our impulse to domesticate God. We have a perennial tendency to manage and control the work of the Spirit. We want a nice, tidy God, but as Jesus reminds us, the Spirit blows where he will. This means growth looks more like a field of wildflowers or a rich, biodiverse, organic garden, and less like cash crop monoculture farming. Where the Spirit is, there will always be God-given diversity and a plurality of gifts. One thing worth mentioning and remembering is that it all begins with the posture of yielding. We have to surrender or yield to the Spirit in our lives, giving up control, opening our hands to give and receive, and being willing to follow the leading of the Spirit in our lives and in our communities. So what has been your experience with the charismatic tradition? How have you seen the Spirit-empowered life in the life of elevation?